Hello, and thank you for stopping by. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. If you are not a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button so you can be notified when new videos arrive. User manuals. Why do companies that produce products usually, sorry about that, include a user's manual? Because they have created the item in such a way that it is to be used in such a way. If it is a cooking item, you can cook kind of what you want, and a lot of times the item is not, it doesn't matter what you cook exactly, as long as you use the basic instructions on how it's supposed to be used. So, items come with a user manual. Well, the Constitution came with a user's manual also, but I'll get to that in a minute. I wanted to talk to you about interpreting things. You have somebody that thinks they know what something means. They read it or they look at it and they interpret it based on their feelings. And the reason I know this is because I go to a barber shop to get my hair cut. And I usually have a very hard time getting it cut the way I want it because the barber tends to do it his own way. This just happened recently. I went in to get my hair cut. The last time I got my hair cut, let me back up a little bit. The last time I got my hair cut, I liked it. We figured out exactly what to do. I took photographs of it so I would have it for future reference. Then I went in, my barber wasn't there, somebody else took his place for the day. He decided to cut my hair. I showed him the photographs. I said, look, this is how I want it to look in the back. This is how I want it to look on the sides, the top, the front, all of that. Yes, I can do that. Well, then he decided to get a little creative as he's cutting my hair. It took a little bit longer than normal, which is weird, because I usually get my hair cut about once a month. Try to keep it trimmed up and look nice. But this guy decided to leave it a little long on the side so it parts in the middle and it'll fold out. It'll kind of fold out. And I said, no, that's not the way I wanted it. I showed you the photographs. His boss came over and looked and said, no, that's not right. You need to fix that. And he says, well, I thought that it would. And he says, no, the customer is paying you to trim his hair. You do what he asks. So he went and fixed my hair. It's not as perfect as it should be, but I like it pretty good. Back to the user manual. The photographs I took were a user manual to explain to the barber how I wanted it trimmed. Tight on the sides and swooped in the back. And I wanted it to have it a little longer because I have a cowlick back there and it tends to pop out when it gets a little longer. And as my hair grows, my hair gets really naturally curly. And so I keep it short because my hair days from the 80s are over. So back to the Constitution and the user manual. The user manual at the time that the Constitution was created was the Federalist Papers. The Federalist Papers explained the Constitution to the general public. For those that were not politically savvy, they could read the Federalist Papers and understand it. Because at the time, that's how they spoke. The wording within the Constitution and the phrasing within the Constitution was common speak back then. It's like nowadays when you watch a movie, right? Especially if you're from America and you're used to American movies. Unless you are a foreigner that has moved to America to become an American citizen and take in the American life and transpose your life, you may have a taste for something from back home. So you watch, say, a movie from Mumbai or a movie from Britain or from Germany or wherever you're from. You may watch movies like that and you understand them. But if I sat down and tried to watch them with you, I wouldn't understand because the phrasing is off, the way they word things and the meanings of those words, you'll understand, but I wouldn't. That's why when I get a British-made movie, I ask people, look, is this an American English movie or a British English movie? They don't understand. They just think English is English, but it's not. Their sense of humor is off. Their sense of humor, to me, is more dry, and they think it's just great. They love it because that's what they're used to. That's all they know. So for them, it's good. Ireland, perfect for them, not for me. So when the Constitution was written, it was written in such a way that it was self-explanatory, but they wanted the common people to understand what it meant, such as articles for impeaching the president. Now we are relying on what we think it means. We're not relying on what the Founding Fathers thinks it means, and that's the important. It doesn't matter what we think it means. What matters is what the Founding Fathers meant for it to mean. So I'm going to read you something that I came across, and hopefully I can get it done in a shorter amount of time, and you will enjoy it. Now, when I read, I have a hard time kind of keeping on track, so bear with me, please. What the Founding Fathers thought about the impeachment of the president. One of the most hotly debated clauses in the Constitution deals with the removal of federal government officials through the impeachment process. What did the Founding Fathers who crafted the language think about the process and its overall intention? The need for the ultimate check, and in particular the removal of the president in a system of checks and balances, was brought up early at the 1787 convention in Philadelphia. Constitutional heavyweights such as James Madison, Benjamin Franklin, James Wilson, and Gouverneur Morris debated the impeachment clause at the convention, and Alexander Hamilton argued for it in the Federalists after the convention. So they debated the impeachment clause at the convention, and Alexander Hamilton argued for it in the Federalist Papers after the convention. Today, the impeachment remains as rarely a used process to potentially remove the... Today, impeachment remains as a rarely used process to potentially remove the president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States. If Congress finds them guilty of treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanors, then they need to be removed. In all, 19 federal officials have been brought up on impeachment charges by the House of Representatives since 1789, with 8 people convicted after a Senate trial. 2 presidents, Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton, have been impeached, and they faced Senate trials but were not found guilty by a 2/3 majority of the Senate. The threat of impeachment remains a power check, at least in theory, against the abuse of power, and it's sometimes discussed in times of political controversy, as well as in cases where there is a clear issue with a personal conduct in office. Where there is a clear issue with personal conduct while in office. Of the 8 persons impeached and convicted in Congress, all were judges who faced charges including perjury, tax evasion, bribery, and in one case, supporting the Confederacy. They never destroyed the Capitol, or they never lobbied for it. At the 1787 convention, Delegate Edmund Randolph quickly brought up the subject as part of his Virginia plan. William Patterson's rival New Jersey plan had its own impeachment clause. National Constitution Center scholar in residence Michael Girard explained the differences in his book, The Federal Impeachment Process, a Constitutional and Historical Analysis. The Virginia plan provided for removal of officers upon impeachment and conviction by the federal judiciary, while the New Jersey plan neglected to include impeachment by the lower house and provide for removal only through application of a majority of the state's governors. Alexander Hamilton introduced his own plan based on the British legal system, where governors, senators, and other officials could be removed for mal and corrupt conduct after being charged by the lower house and tried by the upper house, which would, I guess, be the House of Representatives and then the Senate. As the convention debate unfolded, not everyone favored impeachment, especially for the chief executive or president. Governor Morris and Charles Pinckney were both concerned about impeaching a president. Morris feared that a president would feel beholden to the branch of government that would impeach him, which means that if you're about to impeach me, I may do the very best I can to try to appease you or bribe you or make you feel like I'm really, really sorry and you should not impeach me. Leading the president to become a tool of a faction, which meant that, oh, we're going to impeach you, we are going to hold that over your head, and you're going to do what we say, or we will still impeach you. Does that sound familiar? There were in the minority James Madison, who saw the impeachment clause as the indispensable for defending the community against incapacity, negligence, or perfidy of the chief magistrate. Eldridge Gary stated that impeachment was needed as a check against presidential abuse of power. A good magistrate will not fear impeachments. A bad one ought to keep in fear of them, he argued. George Madison then refuted Morrison's argument that only the president's assistants should face the impeachment process. No point is of more importance than that the right of impeachment should be continued. Shall any man be above justice, he asked. Benjamin Franklin also said in his unique way, the impeachment was preferable to the more traditional way of removing a monarch in Europe by death. Eventually, Morris changed his thinking on the issue of executive impeachment, believing that the president should act more like a prime minister. 8 of the 10 delegations voting approved the impeachment clauses, additional to the draft of the Constitution. Into August and September of 1787, the process became more defined. The Supreme Court was removed as a possible trial venue. A 2/3 vote requirement was required for conviction in the Senate, and George Madison added the words high crimes and misdemeanors, a phrase borrowed from English impeachment proceedings. High crimes and misdemeanors. High crimes, which means, I guess, felonies, and misdemeanors is federal misdemeanors. In the Federalist 65, Hamilton made an extended argument for the states to ratify a constitution with an impeachment clause. The founders and some of Hamilton's evidence were familiar, or the founders and some of Hamilton's audiences were familiar with the concept from British law and several state constitutions. They had impeachment provisions for maladministration, a term Madison objected to and which caused Madison to add high crimes and misdemeanors to the clause as its replacement. Maladministration. That's a word that can mean a lot of things depending on how you want to use it. So he used high crimes and misdemeanors. Hamilton argued strongly for the Senate and not the Supreme Court as the place where the impeachment charge would be considered at the trial related to misconduct of public men, or in other words, from abuse of violation or violation of some of the public trust. There are a nature which many will there are a nature which may with peculiar propriety be denominated political, as they relate chiefly to injuries done immediately to the security itself. The prosecution of them, for this reason, will seldom fail to agitate the passions of the whole community and to divide it into parties more or less friendly or inimical to the accused, Hamilton added, which is what's happening now with the impeachment of Donald Trump. Hello? The framers meant for the phrase high crimes and misdemeanors to signify only conduct that seriously harms the public and seriously compromises the office's ability to continue. If the phrase is given a less rigorous interpretation, it could allow Congress to influence and control the president and the courts, said Kinkoff. When the founders wanted to ensure accountability, they mostly relied on elections and the voters to hold government officials responsible for their actions, said Wilmington. But what might fall into the category of other high crimes and misdemeanors was still quite unclear. Even though they explained it and they told you what they meant, it was still unclear. It's self-explanatory, but it's still unclear. So what do you think? How do you see it? The Constitution, the clause about impeaching the president. You cannot allow your personal feelings to get in the way. You can't. There's people that really, really like Donald Trump. I don't know why. I don't understand it, but they do. They like Donald Trump, and they think he can do no wrong. They think the election was stolen because Donald Trump said so. And he had people in his corner that backed up what he said. They had no actual evidence. They just verbally backed it up. And people said, oh, well, he must be telling the truth. There's no way he could be lying. Right? And those people lobbied for Donald Trump to not be found guilty. I believe he was guilty. I think deep down in his heart, Donald Trump realizes he was guilty, and he's very thankful that he didn't get caught. Now, what do you think? Have you read the Federalist Papers? Have you studied them, or do you even know about them? If you do, put your comment below, right down here. If you would like to put a comment and add your 2 cents worth, put it down there. Eventually, I'm going to start doing a video called 2 cents corner or something that deals with 2 cents, because I think that everybody has something that they believe in that could be valid. We may not totally agree, but there may be aspects of it that ring true. If you want to give my video a thumbs up, please hit that like button and give me a like and a thumbs up. And also, if you want to subscribe, hit the subscribe button right down here. I'm going to let you go on this note. Remember, make tomorrow better than yesterday by doing the very best we can today. And also, have you ever had a bad haircut and the guy didn't cut it exactly the way you wanted it? Put that in the comment as well. I'd love to share it with you. Everybody's got war stories. Have a good afternoon, America. At all points beyond.